5 games in each venue, 10 games, 600 million tax dollars. And as he said, these things always go over budget. And who cares? I know there's some football fans out there, and we're not talking about the good football like my Steelers. We're talking about that old kicking that soccer ball around, as we should say it around here. And some people would really enjoy it. But again, if there's not the market for people to pay for it themselves, get out of it. And I mean, in Calgary, we've been in the throes of this battle over building an arena out here, a deal that Jody Gondek cratered and torpedoed when she came in as mayor. And that, I think, was a $500 million deal. I could be corrected on that one, which was still too much. But this is $600 million for 10 games in 2 cities of your money. A lot of us are struggling to make the bills. Inflation's going rampant. Looks like, the recession word, economists are finally starting to use it because, again, the government's in its usual rock and a hard place. Inflation is running rampant. People are getting ticked off. People are getting pressured. People are in trouble. The main tool the government has to fight inflation is the Bank of Canada cranking up interest rates. When they raise the interest rates, it slows the economy, but that hurts. It means that you can't afford to borrow. People aren't going to be buying houses as much, or vehicles, or businesses might not be doing capital expansion because they got to pay more for the interest on the loans and the financing to do it, but it'll slow the inflation. So I see that somebody's gone and rounded up our grouchy football fan here, or soccer as the proper North American would put it.
What's wrong with you?
Where do we want to start?
Well, first of all, Canada only gets a few games. There's no doubt about that. But the economic impact is going to be huge. You talk about, okay, maybe not getting a glamorous game. Let's say you got like Mexico versus South Korea. Do you know how many Mexicans will be coming up to Vancouver to watch that game? How many South Koreans will be flying in to watch that game?
Not a hell of a lot. I mean, Mexicans aren't exactly flush to fly to Canada.
We was at a Canada-Mexico game 10 years ago at BC Place, and the place was packed. There was like dancing in the streets, the Mexican sombreros waving. I mean, it's the most popular sport in the world. More kids play soccer in Canada than they do hockey. And with the Canadian soccer team making the World Cup since the first time in almost 40 years, the excitement in November in Qatar is going to be unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. This nation will become soccer crazy, and having that in their own country, where the Canadian team automatically gets qualified and will be playing. It's just going to be absolutely bananas.
Well, I don't deny that it's a monstrous sport. I mean, there's no getting around that. It's huge. Just because I don't watch it doesn't mean it's not important to millions and millions of people. Fair enough. 600 million clams, though. That's a lot of tax dollars for a sport. Is it really impossible to get them here for anything less than that?
Well, keep in mind, we're dealing with one of the most corrupt organizations in the world in history, FIFA, who along with the IOC are is nothing but private kingdoms. But it's, look what the Olympics did in 1988 for Calgary. That put Calgary on the map, without a doubt. So yeah, sometimes you have to spend a little bit of money.
A little bit.
But look at the money the government's throwing around on worse projects than that.
Well, the CBC is a worse project, but I mean, there's things that they just don't need to spend. I mean, we can have that discussion that we're having.
Sure.
I was an aspiring ski jumper through the 80s, and the 88 Olympics were inspirational and things like that. But back then, they actually made money on that one Olympics. That's the last time it ever happened.
True.
As you said, the IOC is corrupt, FIFA is corrupt. I mean, maybe we should be examining ways, though. I mean, I can understand you're saying it's a good time and it could bring some benefit, but man, we've got to find a way to make it more affordable.
But look at the long-term benefits. Soccer is the most affordable sport for any kid to play in the country. And the number of the success that the women had in the Olympics, the success of the women's program over the last several years has just, the number of young girls playing soccer has been a boom. And it's the same way with the Canadian team. They've soared up the rankings. And because they're doing well, people are interested. When they last went to the World Cup, they didn't even score a goal. But this time, we've got some world-class players. Alphonso Davies, the best player in the world at his position, playing for one of the top teams in the world, Bayern Munich. So, yeah, I know it means nothing to you, but it might mean something to others. But you know what? Soccer is a growing sport, so it will continue to grow.
Well, I mean, I will most certainly concede that, and it is a great sport for parents, kids. I mean, not everybody can afford the ice time, the equipment, the gear,
the insurance.
I mean, and kids can just go across the street to the park and play around with a ball and practice anytime they please. And the insurance, no, it's a great sport. I don't want to knock the sport, though. I knock the fanatics as well as just that English footy thing you guys talk
That's
about.
because you don't understand the offside rule, right? I'll explain it to you in November when we're watching the Canadian thing.
To look forward to. Well, you've made your case. I do, as I said, concede you. It is a large and great sport, and there's a lot of benefits to it. I'm going to have a hard time swallowing the amount, being as to make Derek Chief.
Did you hear me yelling at you from the newsroom?
No, but I caught word from somebody that somebody was hollering over there. But it's not the first time somebody's been shouting while I do this show.
No, despite the fact it's the worst show you've ever had.
Hey, don't be so mean to Polyev.
No, that Polyev was good. Just your soccer rant was bad.
All right. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about this once or twice before these games come. So
absolutely.
Thank you for coming in to express your ire with me today.
My pleasure.
All right, Dave. So for a second time today, that's our news editor, Dave Naylor, who just could no longer contain himself with my most intolerant and hateful rambling about his preferred sport. But fair enough, he's made his case, and I know he's not alone. There are a lot of people that think a hell of a lot about it, and it'll be quite an event when it comes. I still, as I said, though, don't care much for the amount of money being spent, and think we could do it much more efficiently. But we allow those other voices, especially with the news editor that I got to sit across from all the time.